Hi guys, welcome back to Forgetful Scholar and let's chat about books. So this week, how do I explain this week? Let's see. Naked Guy in the Elevator, Gentlemanly Pirate, Gunslinger with a Heart of Gold, and Surprise Tenacles. Okay. I think that's pretty good sums up of this week of reading. So let's get started. Okay. So the first book I want to talk about is Night Shift, Book 1 by T.A. Moore. Ooh, here we go. Don't drop. There we are. I really like this. I always say that. I need to stop saying it, but it's true. I don't know who's like your guys' cover art for like T.A. Moore, Jordan L. Hawk, S.C. Poe, C.S. One. Like, who does your cover art? Like, I'm really curious. Okay. It should probably, yeah. Okay, so focus. Hi guys. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Let's do this. Okay, so this one is the Surprise Naked Guy in the Elevator one. So this is a very short, it's basically a novella. It's 100 pages. I read this synopsis a while ago and I wanted this book for a bit, but it's like it's like $3.30 for 100 pages, and I was just kind of on the fence about it because other books of that length are close to 99 cents to $1.99. So, you know, I was reluctant. And that's probably the only bad thing I have to say about this. That's it. 4 stars. The rest of it, fantastic. So let's, I'm trying to get myself focused. Okay. So in this world, there seems to be werewolves and nulls. So nulls are people who can't shift into werewolves. And werewolves are very much on the full moon. They are werewolves and they have no control. They're pretty much feral. And there's like a saying in the book, you know, when they're a wolf, they don't know who's lover, who's food, you know. So there's, you know, so the night shift, which is basically, you know, cops. So the 2 heroes are Kit Moreau and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. Marlowe. I'm just gonna call him Kit. You know me and names, not the best. So let's just go with Kit. That's his first name. He is a cop on the night shift and he's a null. So we get both his POV and the other heroes. This is MM, contemporary, and Cade Deacon. And Cade Deacon is the CEO of a private security firm. And Cade is a werewolf. And they had dealings in the past with Night Shift, and Cade doesn't really remember Kit all that much because they kind of describe him, or he described himself as kind of like forgettable. But Cade's wolf is very attracted to Cade's wolf. I'm gonna call him Deacon. Deacon's wolf is very attracted to Kit. So when they come across each other, basically Cade, so the full moon is 3 moons here. Like they shift to uncontrollable feral wolves for 3 nights in a row every month. So Cade's basically naked in the elevator when Kit is getting off a 17-hour night shift. And this world, night shift for cops it's kind of prestigious and kind of not. So the day shift guys kind of make fun of the night shift because they're like nulls and stuff, but nulls are important in this world because they can handle silver bullets and wolfsbane and things like that. So Kit seems really good at his job. I will say that every one of his coworkers are assholes. Like there's not one that's kind of decent. Like Beckett takes credit for Cade's work when Cade like gets the shit beat out of him, but he saves a kid. And Beckett takes. I was like, oh, so not on. Oh, they are forced to work together and they get like a murder investigation. The dialogue is really awkward between them, but it's supposed to be, and I thought that was pretty charming. It came off very charming, and I love that we get both their POVs because Deacon's POV was definitely necessary because if we didn't get it, we would just think he's an asshole. And meanwhile, in his POV, he's like, oh, why did I say that? I'm trying not to be an asshole. Oh, I'm attracted to this guy. Oh, I'm such an idiot. So we kind of get like that. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cute little bean, you know? So that was pretty cute. We do get hints of Deacon's rough childhood. We don't get much background story of Kit very much on this one. It is a short book, and I will say, when I was reading it, it didn't feel like a short novel. Not that it dragged on or anything. I don't know if it's because the day I set aside to read it, adulting popped up, and I had to put it down and come back to it and things like that. Uh, but I really do think it's the writer's pacing is fantastic. It didn't feel like a short book, nothing like that. And it's 4 stars because there wasn't really any sexy scenes. There was one almost in the bathroom. Not my personal favorite setting for a scene like this, but okay. I will say that it ends on quite a cliffhanger. I was like, no, you can't end it on this. What? So that was a great hook into the next book, and everything like that. And I do really like this. I like both Kit and Deacon. I want to know more about them. I didn't feel like I got a lot of Kit, his personality down, so I'm interested to dive into him a little bit more and find out like what, how he ticks and things like that. And I didn't know if like Nulls were looked down on in this world or not, because sometimes it looks like they're looked down on, but like Deacon wants to hire Kit for like twice its worth because he's like, Nulls are, you sign Nulls for twice as money for a reason. So it kind of goes back and forth. The murder storyline was very interesting. There was a bit of a twist and a turn. So it's not what you think it is in the beginning, which I like that. I like being surprised like that. I do feel horrible for the murdered girl. Pretty rough situation. I feel like I'm not explaining this well. This was a really great book. It's 4 stars. 4 stars because of the price, and 4 stars because there's no sexy times. Complete sexy times in this. So there's that. But I did really. I want to read the other 2. I think there's 3 in the series, and I'm really interested in reading the other 2. I want to know more about Kit and Deacon. I want to see their relationship kind of evolve and grow into something really substantial. Because right now they're just attracted to each other, and it took a while for Kit to realize whether Deacon was an asshole or hitting on him. The answer is both. So, yeah. So that was the first book of the week. So that was the the naked guy in the elevator. So that one's clicked off. And I did have 2 comfy reads this week. And this is Gentle Rogue, a Mallory novel from Johanna, Lindsey. Yeah. And Goodreads, when I looked this up, it says Mallory and Anderson family novel. So I don't know if they added that later. This is the 3rd in that, but this is the first time an Anderson popped up. So this one is at 4 stars, and it used to be 5 stars, so I'll get to why it's a 4 star. Like, I knocked it down in a second. So this follows James Mallory, who, like his younger brother Tony Mallory that we saw before in the Tender Rebel, is a rank. But unlike Tony, he didn't do it for fun. He did it because he was bored. So he's definitely like the dissatisfied title Englishman that is bored with his life. He wants thrills. He wants all these things, and he was just kind of emotionless. So he slept with every woman there was. You kind of get the sense that he had a really debauchery kind of existence for a while until his brothers basically disowned him, but not officially, but kind of like get your shit together, And then he becomes a pirate, Captain Hawk. Now, I will say James Mallory is a great character. It's obvious that it's one of the writer's favorites. He's a great character. He's in every single one of the Mallory stories. And then I think there's like 14 or 13. I'm not quite sure on the number. I should have counted before this, but guess what? I forgot. So, he's in everyone. And the beginning of it, when he popped up, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't annoying at all. The first of the Mallory novels, he has a big chunk of the book because he's kind of the antagonist. Like, he doesn't realize that Nicholas, who marries his niece, um, who he's trying to get revenge on, is now part of the family. Like, when he figures out, the grudge sort of goes away. It goes away from, I'm gonna kill you, to, okay, we're family now, so I'm just gonna verbally make fun of you for the rest of your life because now you're my nephew, kind of a thing. And in the other ones, like the story with Derek, his nephew James is involved, but like Derek goes to his uncle James for expertise because James was a pirate, so yeah, it made sense. And then later on, it's just James got more and more in every book, even though he didn't need to be there. So I kind of got oversaturated with James. And that's why this went from a 5-star to a 4-star, because it was too much James in so many other books. And I got oversaturated and bored with him. And that's a shame, because he is a really fun character. He is adventurous, he's courageous, he's sarcastic, he's kind of grumpy pants, but in a likable way, So it's a shame that it went from like a really great character to like, oh, I don't want to read about James right now, or maybe ever again, That's why I went back to read this book, because I'm trying to get over the oversaturation of him in a weird way. So I read his story. All right, look, the logic doesn't make sense, but that's what happens, okay? So give me a break. The heroine in this is Georgina Anderson, and I really like her. She's the youngest of the Anderson siblings, and she's the only girl. So she's pretty spoiled. And we saw the Andersons before because Warren was in Magic of You that I talked about a couple weeks ago, I think. So this is the first time the Andersons show up. She goes to England to look for her fiance that went missing. Turns out, he married an Englishwoman, was happy living in England. So she's a little heartbroken. I mean, you see through her that it's not really heartbroken. She wasn't keen to marry. She just didn't have a lot of options in Connecticut, where she's from. And she kind of set her hopes on him, the ex-fiance, because he was the most handsome one in town. So she's stubborn, she's feisty, and she's, she goes for what she wants. And I like that. I like her a lot. So she decides to go back to England, so she masquerades as a boy because they can't get passage on, a passenger boat because there's none leaving at that time. And she's determined to get back home right away. She hates England. They took her fiance away. How dare they? She doesn't want anything to do with it. So, and you do see a glimpse of her in Tender Rebel, which is why I really love reading these books, right after another. If I feel like it, because they're intertwined, they're at the same timeline. So the Tender Rebel, Anthony goes to a pub looking for the bad guy in his story, and they run into Georgina in disguise and her friend, who's like friend of the family, kind of like a lovable uncle kind of guy. And James picks Georgina up, and he thinks it's George. Like, he thinks it's a lad. And accidentally feels her breast, but complete accident. He's surprised. She kicks him. Love that. She kicks him right in the shin, runs away. Loves that. She ends up his cabin boy. And, funny kind of misadventures happen with that. James knows the whole time it's a girl passing as a boy. So, he's kind of hitting on, confusing her. And she's like, oh, he's hitting me. Wait, does he hit me because I'm a boy? Because I'm a girl? So all this stuff happens. There is a lovely, happy ending. There is being threatened of hanging, kidnapping, but not really, because Georgina does want to go to England with James. So, he kind of kidnaps her after they get married, after they're forced to marry. It's forced marriage, consensual kidnapping. A lot goes on in this book. And it is a really fun read. There's a lot of funny situations that happens in this book that I've always really liked and always keeps me coming back to it. And again, this would be a 5 stars. It's just the oversaturation of James in every other book is just kind of brought it down for me a little bit. The love scenes are spicy. They're fun. Nothing too crazy. But, it's Johanna Lindsey. She doesn't really do kinky. It's a lot of fun. And James is a really good character. He just Doesn't have to be in every single one. But I guess that's the hook. You know, he was in the first book, so he's all the way to the last book, I guess. Okay. I mean, it's what the writer wants to do. You know, this is her world. These are her characters. She gets to do what she wants, right? So, there we go. And James, for the Mallory side of the family, he is the blonde, green-eyed side of the family. Because, you know, they're broken up to blonde, green eyes, or black hair and cobalt eyes, you know. And I was thinking about reading their story about their ancestor, where all the blonde, green, and blue eyes and black hair kind of originates from. We'll see. I've read that before. It's cute. Very Christmassy kind of one. So maybe. So this is a 4 stars. I feel like I'm not doing any good explaining this week. I feel like I'm all over the place. And you know why? Because I got a full night of sleep last night. 8 hours, not used to it. I don't know how to function on a good night's sleep. I just don't. So I feel like I'm all over the place. So there we go. That's that one. That is the Gentleman Pirate one. Another comfort read. Oh, I love this one so much. And you can tell because once I bring this up, you're going to see how beaten up this book is. But this is the Gunslinger with a Heart of Gold, and it's Angel by Johanna Lindsey. Look how beat up this book is. Oh my goodness. I know, guys. I know. So beat up. This is a 5 stars. This is one of my 5 stars. This is the one I lend out if someone's interested in getting interested in romance novels. Actually, I just got this back from one of my dear friends. She doesn't read a lot of romance novels. She said the last romance novel she read was Twilight, and me being the overdramatic ass I was like, oh, that cannot stand. And I was like, what do you want? Aliens, pirates, a duke, cowboy. She's like, cowboy. I was like, okay, here you go. Read this. And she liked it. So that was really good. I'm happy she liked it. So this follows Angel, who is a gunslinger, and Cassie Stewart. So, okay, so this premise, I always really like the intro to this book too, because it's very cool, very West, high noon West, Wild West kind of thing. So it's a lot of fun. So Angel is a gunslinger, and his nickname is the Angel of Death, and he is blurringly fast drawing his guns. Like, it's almost impossible how fast he is. Now, he doesn't particularly like it. It's just the only thing he's ever been good at. And then when he made a name for himself, people come to challenge him, and he hates that. But the thing is, you know, when they fight him, he does kill, like in a gunfight, he does kill them because he has a scar underneath his chin, goes over there, because he learned the hard way. If someone wants to fight you in a gunfight and they don't think, and you let them show you, that's when he showed mercy. And then the person came back and tried to slit his throat when he slept. So, you know, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like being called Angel Death. He doesn't like that, you know, silly boys come to him to die just because they want a name for themselves. He doesn't like it. He owes this man, who's called the Peacekeeper, a favor. So he goes to Cassie Stewart, because she called in the Peacemaker to help her. And Cassie, so this one is a 5 star, probably because Angel and Cassie are both like top tier favorites. Okay, so he goes to Cassie Stewart's, her father's place, to help her as a favor to the Peacemaker, who she originally called on, because Cassie meddles. She can't help it. She wants to help people, and she meddles. And meddling got her in a lot of trouble that both her neighbors are basically trying to run her out of town. And she can't leave until her dad comes back. Because her parents, who are the worst part of this book, the most annoying part of this book, but don't worry, they're barely in it. It's just, they really, like, their stubborn and childness drives me nuts. Like, Cassie is 100% more mature than she is, than the mother and the father are. Like, it's ridiculous. And it also shows why Cassie meddles, because she can't meddle with her parents. So she has like almost compulsive need to meddle elsewhere because she can't fix her parents, but she wants people to be happy. So she tries to help everyone else. So she's not an annoying meddler. It's very sweet. And I love how Johanna Lindsey can do that, like add layers to a character seamlessly. So you're like, oh, okay, I get why she does this, because she can't do this in her whole life. So doing it, so helping people outside kind of helps her out a little bit. Cool, I get that. Her pet, Maybelline, Maybelline is so fun. Very exotic pet, but explained in a way that you're like, sure, I'm not gonna take issue with this because that's awesome. That is badass. Cool, you know? And I don't want to spoil what the pet is, so I'm gonna leave it like that. So Angel goes down because he's taking the place of the Peacemaker to, burn off the dead. She's terrified of Angel because even though where they are there and where they are in Texas, he's not known. He's more known more in the north, in Wyoming and things like that. She's originally from Wyoming, so she knows it's the Angel of Death, and she's pretty terrified. And she's nervous. She doesn't know what to do. She's like, no, go. He's like, no, I have to stay because this is my debt. So that's just the end of it. Which is a good thing because she kind of gets threatened by the family, one of the family. Because, like, the two neighbors want her out of town. Because basically it's a Romeo and Juliet situation going on with the two families. And she helped the kids run away and get married and things like that. And they're back and, like, you don't really get why they separated, but, like, the daughter's crying here. She won't stop crying. The boy got, like, the beating of his life, and he's over here. So so he's like, well, look, I'll be your guard until you go back home. And he's kind of put out because this adorable busybody, she's actually his neighbor, and she's friends with his friends. And that makes him uncomfortable because that adds layer of connections. And he's not used to having connections to people. Like, he has two friends up in Wyoming. It's kind of it. That's, like, his chosen family. And she's really good friends with them. So it's like, well, even if I don't owe a favor, crap, I gotta keep this girl safe. And she won't, like, leave his brain. Like, he's always thinking about her, and that annoys him. I love that. Okay. So he has to keep her safe. And it comes in handy because a lot of things do happen. But when a situation starts to escalate, she's like, oh no, he's my fiance. Because she panics. Because she's like, people are going to know he's the Angel of Death, and things are going to go crazy, and, like, people are going to die, and they're jerks, but at one point they were my friends, and I don't want them to die, so, like, you're not going to lie. And that kind of bites her on the ass later on, bites them both on the ass later on, but also is the best thing to happen to them later on. And so she's at her father's place, and her mother lives in Wyoming. They are sort of separated. They only talk through her like children, like they won't even talk to each other. It's really just immature how they deal with the separation, borderline divorce that's going on for as long as Cassie was a kid. And she's like marriageable age right now. So since she was like, I think around 10 till like 20 or something. So it's like, get your shit together, parents. Really. Honestly. Be adults. So, again, like I said, those are the most annoying parts of this book, the parents. There is a happy ending, because I always read books with happy endings because I like it, you know? There is a lot of stuff going on in this book. Cassie gets kidnapped, all these kind of things. And I like this because Cassie doesn't think of herself as pretty. People kind of, when they first meet her, she thinks she's plain. And then the explanation later is why they think she's attractive, because her features settle. And they're like, oh no, she's unconventional, but she's pretty. Every time I read that, I kind of take it as they got to know her personality. And, like, she's so lovely. Her personality, like, she's probably a normal-looking girl. Nothing wrong with her. Perfectly lovely, normal-looking girl. But her personality kind of reels them in. And then they start to just really like her because she's so great. You know, that's how I always interpret it when I read it. And I like that interpretation. So I'm going to keep it. So that is a 5 stars. Love it. If you haven't read it, go read it. If you want someone to get interested in the romance novel genre, that's a great book to loan out to get people interested. And that is our Gunslinger with a Heart of Gold. Also, what I really like about this, side note, is that he's like a badass, but a quiet badass. Like, he's not a braggart. He's not anything. You know, he was kidnapped by mountain men when he was a kid. So he doesn't know how to like read or write, and he's just really good with the gun. He knows how to trap and stuff like that too. But he'd rather die than go up to the mountains and be isolated again. So he can stare down a barrel of multiple guns steady. Not even a shake. But having to have like a semi-formal dinner with just her, nervous, socially anxious. Like, that's adorable. Like, how is that not cute? I really like that kind of layer to it, you know? He's not just one-dimensional, flat kind of a character. There's depth to him, and there's, you know, a little bit of nervousness to have dinner with her. And, like, you know, in the classic, I'm not good enough for her kind of crap happens later on. But again, happy ending, 5 stars, love it. Can you tell I love it? Oh, my Gunslinger, the Heart of Gold. Oh, love it. Okay, so the last one is the Surprise Tentacles, which would be Rath and Rune, Book 1, Unhallowed, a novel of Widdershins. Oh, I can never get that word. By Jordan L. Hawk. Now I'm going to leave this up for a second, or hold it up for a second. You see the cover art? Oh, you see the cover art? Yeah, you see the tentacles? Yeah, right. So it shouldn't have been a surprise. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, tentacles, okay, cool. Should not have been a surprise. Still was. Now, this is the same writer that did last week's book of Wyborn and Griffin. And I'm going to go back to that series, and I'm going to continue that series. I was just kind of curious how the writer handles the challenge of doing 2 storylines, not just in the same town, but in the same museum. Because this story takes place like in the library part, where Wyborn and Griffin were archaeologist anthropology section. This is about the library section. And there's a little cheeky nod to Wyborn and Griffin in the newspaper that Rune reads. Now, this one here is Rune, and this one's Rath. I'm just putting it out there because might get a little confusing later, because apparently I can't explain anything today. Nada. Nothing. Anyway. So, Rune, Vesper Rune, he moves to town and he gets a job in the museum. And the thing is with this book, it's been a long time since the book has hooked me in with the first sentence. The first sentence, I was like, bitch, what is going on? I'm here for it. What is up? Like, first sentence. It was fantastic. It's fantastic. And the authors challenge, well, a little test, I guess, to see how well they handle dueling storylines and if this couple personality is the same as Wyborn and Griffin or different. And the thing is, all 4 men are very, very different. Very different personalities. It was beautiful how it was done. I guess the only thing you could say that Wyborn and Vesper Rune share is that they're both shy, but very different reasons why they're shy. So Vesper goes to the museum. He gets hired in the museum. The trick is that he has to do a floor plan to give to someone who has his younger brother. So he kind of joined the museum under untrustworthy circumstances. And he has till Halley Comet flies over, which is a week. I think 13 days. A little more than a week when he gets there. He meets Sebastian Rath. At first, Sebastian doesn't like him because the man's job he took was a friend of his and he just disappeared, and he knows something happened, but no one will believe him, and he knows, Kelly wouldn't just disappear, and, things like that. But eventually he realizes Vesper is a sweetheart, and he is. He is a sweetheart. He also refers to himself as a monster, and I was like, is this psychological, or is it really a monster? Because again, this is an H.P. Lovecraft 1900s romance with a happy ending, which I just love. Like, what? I love that. Yes, please. More of this, please. This is so much fun. And this book is very fast-paced. And there's a lot I can't say, because I feel like every little bit of it will give something away. Give it a try. I can't tell you where the Surprise Tenacles show up. They shouldn't have been a surprise, because on the cover art, and we're dealing in the H.P. Lovecraft universe, but I was like, oh. Okay. Surprise, it's tentacles. Okay. All right. And I kind of hope that Vesper's younger brother, Nock, gets his own story. Poor little bean. And it's interesting. And I think I might like Rune and Rath's story a little bit more, just because in my brain, Vesper is already hero in the beginning of this book because he grew up in a doomsday cult. His mother was very abusive, and basically him and his younger brother were supposed to bring out the end of the world. And at 17, a baby, Vesper was like, no, and he took his brother and he ran. And the thing is, he didn't even like. I thought that was just so awesome because any outside, like the only outside with the outside world we see Vesper have is when he was a kid and the children he ran into tried to kill him. So it's not like humans, he thinks great of, like he doesn't have a great relationship with humans either, you know? But he was still like, no, ending the world is wrong, even though he was brought up in this brainwashing, abusive home, grabbed his brother, and they're both dipped. And I was like, you know, even before the story starts, you, sir, you're a hero. I love this. Oh my god, Vesper, I'm with you. And the third act conflict, Sebastian's Rath's like reaction, even I was like, oh, really? He barely knows you, bro. Like, come on. It's been like a couple days. But I love how the writer was like, next chapter, Sebastian's like beating himself up for acting that way. I was like, okay. So it was totally like it had to happen to get the plot going because you couldn't think of another way for this to happen. But you're immediately like, this sucks, so let's correct it. I get that. You know, it happens sometimes. Sometimes a third act conflict, you're just locked into something, and you can't see any other way to do it, so you kind of have to do that. But I like how the correction happened pretty fast. There's one love scene in this, and it's pretty fun. For a spell, it's nice. Excuse me. It is a really fun book. And I want to check out more of it. I think I'm going to go back to the Wyborn and Griffin storylines just so I don't get them mixed up because I would. And I want to like finish that and then hop back up to these because right now I think there's only 2 books. If there's just 2 books, that's cool. 100% cool. But maybe when I'm done with the Wyborn and Griffin books, there's a little bit more of the Rune and Rath. That would be cool too. But this author did a fantastic job. And at the end of the day, you know, take away the cult and the magic and all this stuff. And it is a book about, you know, self-acceptance. And that is just so lovely. Like, how can you go wrong with a beautiful kind of base like that? That's just lovely. Lovely. So basically they have to protect the library because there's a special book in the library. I mean, again, I can't give a lot away. And I wonder if Nock gets his own story or something, because Irene is a sorceress friend of Rath's, and her and Nock kind of had a moment. And I don't know what kind of moment was, because he looked confused. He's like, wait, what? And then she left and he looked after her confused. So, like, something's going on. And Nock is quite powerful magic-wise. So I thought that was good. I was like, ooh, maybe that's for the second book. No. You're curious about Wyborn and Griffin. Go back to them. The only reason I haven't jumped directly to it is because I just wasn't in the mood for ex-boyfriend drama in the book, and that's what the synopsis is. And that's fine. Sometimes it's a lot of fun. I just wasn't in the mood for it at the moment, you know? So that was my surprise tentacle. So I got all those. I got all those done. So that's all of that. It is a fun read. I think all the books I read this week were a lot of fun. I'm really lucky that I've picked a lot of good ones so far on, you know, the history of this channel, like ones I really enjoy. I'm so happy to find new kind of independent writers that aren't afraid to like do a little bit more, you know, to kind of stretch the boundaries of the romance genre a little more, like, you know, celestial horror, happy romance. Like, okay, I am here for it. Let's go, you know? So that's a lot of fun. So that's been a lot of fun. I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you later. Bye.